Tzu University and Canton State U have signed an MOU, hoping to collaborate more. In Malaysia, soup kitchen volunteers brought food to impoverished families, helping them get through the pandemic. Welcome to Thai Headlines, I'm Hu Chao. Thank you for joining us. Tzu University and Kansas State University signed an MOU, planning for future academic exchange. Kansas State University is the first American university that offers exchange programs for Tzu University students. Here's more.
I wish I could be there.
Through online video conference, the university and Kansas State University have signed an MOU planning cooperation between the two schools.
双方合作交流就包括慈济大学。
The two schools will have exchanges. The relationship with Tzu University's medical school and international college is a big achievement for Tzu University.
对慈大来讲是一个很大的成就。
Number 2 in the nation for great campus and community relations.
Kansas State University is a school with a history of more than 150 years. It is the first American university that exchanges students with Tzu University. It also provides summer programs for TCU students.
推动对学生、对老师、对学校有帮助的。
I think it is more meaningful to promote cooperation that is helpful to teachers in the school. The signing of the MOU is worth celebrating. It represents the willingness of the two schools to conduct academic exchange.
学术合作的一个诚意、一个意愿。
As the two schools promote academic exchange, the students' international scope can be broadened and they can experience different cultures.
During the pandemic, Fengjia University's professor Ho Shenzong collaborated with the Department of Health in New Taipei City, turning his long-term care transportation service into a COVID prevention taxi fleet. After he combined New Taipei City's map with the taxi fleet's platform, taxi drivers can accurately know when and where to pick up patients.
愿意去为你开这个门，愿意让你进到他的车上。
They are willing to open their doors, allowing patients onto their vehicles and taking them home. These taxi drivers become a ray of hope in the society.
In the stories of COVID prevention, the protagonists are the medical staff and firefighters. Yet a group of people stood at the end of the line. Though they're nameless, their kind acts are illuminated the country in its toughest time.
但是它的影响力，就像我们这次命名的叫
Their impact is what we call the ray of hope. It's not like sun rays since no one sees them. They felt that they were small forces of power spreading all over the country.
During the information age, many individual heroes rose over time, but what we need right now is the power of a group to help people in need. Fengjia University's Professor Hong Shenzhong turned his donkey move long-term care platform into a COVID prevention taxi fleet. The 70 taxi drivers fully dedicate their time to the battle against COVID-19.
所以我们那个比较像撤退。
We are like retreating, not going to war. We are not fighting at the front line. We're actually retreating, like the Dunkirk evacuation.
Sending the COVID-confirmed patients home sounds like an easy task. But at the early stage, drivers often have to wear protective clothing, enduring high heat and hunger while waiting for the bus to arrive, then sending the patients back home. These drivers work 14 hours non-stop.
Later on, it discovered that the current method doesn't work. It only exhausts the taxi drivers because these drivers are in their protective clothing already. If you tell them to be there by 11 a.m. and the bus drivers arrive at 4 p.m., the 5-hour wait only worsens their stamina.
Ho Shenzong combined his long-term care platform with COVID prevention buses as the efficiency doubled. As of now, taxi drivers no longer have to be there hours before arrival.
所以从那个时候开始，我们就对接起来了，就大巴跟小巴中间。
So at the time we connect with large and small buses, we will know when our vehicles have to be out and to what destination. With this implemented, our taxi drivers no longer have to wait hours at the designated spot.
Ho Shenzhong describes COVID prevention as an information war. The drivers and vehicles are the army. When the platform connects with buses, the Air Force comes into play. When these forces set in place, everything becomes easily manageable.
光有这样的一个勇气跟
The courage isn't enough. We need to give them information. With the information on our platform, we can guide the drivers to different destinations for different tasks.
Actually, from long-term care to COVID prevention is a tough task. In the past, picking up and dropping seniors follow a certain routine and time. But during the pandemic, everything is uncertain as the life-threatening enemies aren't even visible.
If we can protect both Taipei and New Taipei City, we can protect Taiwan.
COVID prevention drivers often work in the presence of the virus, since they lack medical knowledge. There were many heart-aching stories.
大概就是说每天大概开始接任务之后
Every day, after receiving the mission, we will wear protective clothing until off work. After the mission, it's about 6 hours of work.
Taxi driver Mr. Huang joined the COVID prevention forces during the pandemic's toughest time. When the Level 3 alert was announced, he and his colleagues immediately registered to contribute towards the society.
志气那个志同道
We worked together at the toughest times. We wanted to contribute, so we quickly registered.
At the darkest hours, the ray of hope I sing on these drivers brings warmth to people in need. During the pandemic, these taxi drivers stood out to guide patients back into their homes.
As the pandemic worsens in Taiwan, more cluster infections are reported as thousands of employees at Miaoli's Zhunan Science Park receive rapid screenings. As schools and a media company in Neihu reported COVID-confirmed and death cases, the government continues to find out the source of infection. In order to prevent medical workers from contracting the virus, the ITRI has developed a positive pressure testing booth. In the booth, medical workers do not have to wear protective clothing, and under a comfortable environment, they can work with ease.
As a technology factory in Miaoli reported cluster infection cases, the CECC has called back thousands of employees to do rapid screenings. Furthermore, more factories reported in with COVID-confirmed cases. Even a TV station in Neihu reported a death case caused by the virus as hundreds of people undergo screenings. As the pandemic worsens, the amount of cluster infection cases increased, bringing great pressure and workload to medical workers. Under the high heat of 30 degrees Celsius, even experienced frontline medical workers are exhausted. The ITRI's Department of Green Energy and Environment Research initiated a positive pressure testing booth. With proper materials, the testing booth can be built in an hour. It can also be removed within 2 hours.
所以一开始的时候，其实整个概念呢是希望设想到未来的情境很可能是一个。
So at first, we came up with a design since we thought of a possible situation in Taiwan, the second pandemic breakout. So we must set up these testing booths in different communities and industrial zones. If we encountered the outbreak, I hope to set up these stations as soon as possible.
我们就希望可以把很快速的把这个该部件的东西把它布好。
In a positive pressure testing booth, medical workers only have to wear masks, as they do not have to wear protective clothing. With air conditioning, 2 medical workers can collaborate. A total of 240 samples can be gathered within a day.
所以一开始的设计是一个很完整的，包含了裁剪亭。
The first design of the testing booth looks like a container, and the equipment inside is similar to of a biology laboratory. The rapid screening equipment inside are also fully prepared for medical workers.
都在里面，所以它是一整组整套的概念。
We normally hear about positive and negative pressure. Negative pressure uses the machine to suck the air, reducing the pressure in the space while creating a differential pressure, then allowing air to come in from the air intake. Positive pressure pushes air into the space, raising the pressure while creating differential pressure, then letting the extra air leave from the exhaust port.
基本上的原理就是说，我们把裁剪师放在一个正压的环境。
The fundamental principle is to put medical workers in a positive pressure environment. Since the environment inside has greater pressure than the outside, even if there are leaks, the air will only be going out from the testing booth. This prevents any pollution coming into the testing booth.
这样子就避免任何可能的空气污染进到我们的裁剪亭里面。
ITRI collaborated with NTUH and McKay Memorial Hospital to create a positive pressure testing booth. The booth saves 20 minutes for medical staff as they no longer have to take the time to wear protective clothing. It also cuts costs on the $100 protective clothing set. The positive pressure testing booth proves to be more comfortable and safe in comparison with testing booths in the United States and Israel.
它是一个可以快速移动的概念。 也就是说，我们是整个做成一个模组。
It can be moved rapidly since it is a pre-made model like a phone booth. If any COVID hotspots need these stations, We can provide testing booths and transport it with a truck. Within 20 minutes, we can set the testing booth in place, and it will work after plugging in electricity.
20分钟的时间就可以把它定位完毕，接上电就可以用。
As of now, the ITRI developed positive pressure testing booth have made their way to different hospitals and COVID hotspots in Taiwan. Besides providing a comfortable working environment for medical workers, it proved to become a tool to fight the virus.
In Malaysia, due to the pandemic, Kachara Soup Kitchen cannot open, and impoverished people are also trapped at homes. Volunteers delivered food to families in need, so the impoverished families do not need to go hungry.
In Malaysia, during the lockdown, residents are encouraged to stay home. Many organizations have also stopped distributing food to the homeless individuals. Despite that, Kachara Soup Kitchen is still providing food to the homeless people and impoverished families. Since the Soup Kitchen Center cannot open, the volunteers at Kachara deliver food to families in need. This way, these people with difficulties do not have to go hungry and will not get infected.
The numbers of people coming asking for help had increased significantly. We are also finding it difficult to move around due to MCO. We are short-handed as well because due to this pandemic, not many volunteers would be forthcoming to help us to deliver the food. Food supplies are not a lot. Donation has trickled down. It's a little bit more difficult to get donations in order for us to serve the needy. We ask our friends and whatnot. We send messages to groups seeking for either monetary or donation.
We would like to seek help from the public because
although the pandemic has impacted the economy, Malaysians have become more united. Kachara Soup Kitchen has raised 20,000 ringgits in 7 days so they can buy food for impoverished families. Although they face challenges, volunteers are not giving up, as helping people in need is their way of cultivation. Every aid recipient also touches them.
Still fresh, very fresh in my mind actually, because I spoke to him. He came dressed up quite nicely, who had no problem previously. He has lost his job since last year, March itself, because of this lockdown. He was a tour bus driver. He had no other ways to support himself, and the boss has been paying him a little bit here and there to help him with some food and rental, and he stays alone. He doesn't have any dependents. So he was left on the brink of becoming a homeless, in fact. So we give them food and then we see how else we can get him back on track.
As the world is fighting the pandemic, Kachara Soup Kitchen continues to deliver food and help to people in need. They have provided love and care and brought hope to forgotten corners.
In Malaysia, Tzu volunteer Wong Kim Choi was diagnosed with COVID-19 in April. He was treated at isolation ward in the hospital. During the process, he witnessed much impermanence of life. Now that he's recovered, he is sharing his experience with people, hoping people will be vigilant in preventing the virus.
觉得磨下那个骨头的中间啊。
When I touched the area between my bones, it felt a bit itchy. Speaking of side effects, I think my memories deteriorated. My wife kept saying that I forgot a lot of things.
我家师姐也是一直在讲，为什么你好像忘东忘西的这样子？
Back in March, Wang Tianchong has conducted COVID-19 virus screening for his factory employees. Unexpectedly, the virus has spread in the factory. In his family of 10, 6 of them have contracted the virus.
我们就是在公司那时候呢，就没有发现到这个。
Working in the company, we did not notice the arrival of the COVID-19 virus. I held meetings with my children in the office. My daughter-in-law also asked me to sign documents. That is how we got infected with the virus.
那个 document， 然后就是我们这几个，就这样子被感染了。
He could see his mother's room window, so he kept screaming, "Mom, Mom!" He screamed. Then he talked with his mother from outside the window. He also told his mother to stay strong.
In front of the virus, humans seem vulnerable. What he saw at a hospital ward made him realize life is impermanent.
当时在那边呢，看到很多一些无常的东西啦，就是说，往生的往生。
At the isolation ward, I saw many signs of impermanence. Some patients passed away, and they wrapped their bodies up in plastic bags. After disinfecting their bodies, they wrapped them up. I saw several of them. We really need to let go, because when impermanence strikes, there's no extra time to think about doing good deeds. When impermanence strikes, it is impossible for you to do good deeds even if you want to. So it is like what the Master said, we are running out of time. We need to cherish what we have now.
上人所讲的来不及啊，来不及，所以要珍惜了，要珍惜啊，珍惜所有眼前的一切了。
After his recovery, Wang Tiancheng has decided to share his experience with more people. He wants to remind them and also calm people's minds.
就是有一些师兄姐他们也
Some Tzu brothers and sisters also face the same problem. So when I saw that, I asked them for their phone numbers. Then I talked with them, so they would know what to expect.
聊一下，给他知道那个过程是怎么样。
If someone has a fever or has been coughing for several days, I think he should go and undergo a screening test to see if he has COVID-19. Do not be afraid. If you do not undergo the screening test, you could infect more people and cause delays.
Under the pandemic, everyone should remain vigilant. It is important to protect oneself and the people around you.
In Malaysia, Tzu Chi volunteer Cho Koi Lin loves to cook vegetarian food. To promote vegetarianism, she has been sharing her recipes on Facebook. She hopes that more people will discover the benefits of vegetarianism. Her husband has been influenced by her and is now adopting a vegetarian diet.
He said that I placed the food so beautifully. It is as if I'm worshipping deities. Placing the food beautifully and advertising with Facebook, Cho Kuling is promoting delicious vegetarian food.
是不满意拍很多张看亮度了。
Sometimes I have to take many pictures. To get a bright one, I take one picture from 14 pictures. It seems like this one is clear. I want to attract young people. People might think that vegetarian food is boring and only Buddhists adopt a vegetarian diet. So I placed them beautifully to attract young people.
一直有人加进来。哦，这是你第一次刚开始的。
Having promoted vegetarianism for 8 years, Cho Kuling has tens of thousands of fans. She shares every dish's recipe selflessly.
之前我是很随性的，我要煮什么就煮什么。
In the past, I was more freestyle and I cooked whatever I wanted to cook. Now I present the different dishes I've learned.
具啊是2、3箱，这里不止哦，还有这边哦，那些道具很多。这2箱都是我拍照的道具啦，有些是环保站结缘回来的。 因为我们不能外面吃嘛，有时做一下餐厅的氛围吧。虽然是普通可以放那个碗碟的，可是我放一个又不同啊。你们外面吃就是因为这个碗碟就多付几块钱了，对吗？不能放蒜，不能放葱，我们就利用香菇的香味。
I cannot add onion or garlic, so I used the aroma of mushroom. In the past, I've also cooked meat dishes, so I simply get rid of the meat and replace the meat with mushroom, which is sweet.
可以开的。
She has planted all kinds of vegetables and herbs in front of her house and used them in cooking food.
山药叶是做 otak。
Betel leaf is used to make otak otak. This is sand ginger leaf, which is used to wrap yongya zhongzi. This is curry leaf. I'm now taking curry leaves. Cho Kuling has gradually influenced her husband to embrace vegetarianism.
Of course, in the beginning, no one is willing to embrace vegetarianism. When she first asked me to adopt a vegetarian diet, I thought I enjoy meat dishes. Why did she ask me to eat vegetarian food? However, since we live in the same family, she works hard cooking, so I ate the food she prepared. I got used to eating vegetarian food and ate less meat.
In March of this year, Ham Tan-chik was diagnosed with COVID-19. Having escaped death, he has changed a lot.
因为你有给予机会回来，你要更加付出。
Since I have the opportunity to come back, I need to contribute more. I finally returned. How can I be wasteful and enjoy the food? Currently, my taste sense has not returned to normal. When I eat sweet or sour food, they will taste bitter. Is it sour? Is it salty and sweet?
很高兴到韩國去咯，嗱咯。
Besides leading a more meaningful life, Ham Tan-chik also hopes to adopt a vegetarian diet. Cooking vegetarian food in simple ways, Cho Ku-ling hopes that people will enjoy the benefits of vegetarian food.
In Indonesia, Betawi people make a traditional dessert called the fermented sticky rice cake. The process of making the cake requires mashing the sticky rice, fermentation, and packaging, as all of these steps are done manually to preserve the ongoing tradition. Ani lives in Tangerang, inheriting the Betawi-style traditional desserts. She learns the technique of making fermented sticky rice cake. The rice cake that she makes does not have any preservatives. Traditional tools are also used. In order to keep the delicious taste of the sticky rice, the stirring process is done manually. During the pandemic, in order to attract more customers, Ani uses vines for packaging. Not only did this move make the appearance better, the product became easier to transport over Indonesia.
Kalau tapenya itu kita dari beras ketan hitam. Nah, kalau ulinya dari beras.
We use black glutinous rice and white glutinous rice. We also use coconut fiber in order to mix black and white glutinous rice.
Hitam aja, dicampur dengan beras ketan putih sedikit.
Ani utilized social media platforms to promote her products. The customers range from Java to Bali. One of the customers, Liz T, comes over once per week to purchase fermented sticky rice cakes, as this is the favorite dessert in her family.
I think it's delicious. The fermented cassava is delicious and soft. Other rice cakes are sweet and authentic. My children and husband love the desserts sold here.
Entering the weekend, Ani is able to sell 30 to 40 boxes of rice cakes, as each box weighs 250 grams. Priced at $3 per box. During the pandemic, Ani found a new way to earn income through the help of social media. She also hopes to return back to her normal life. In Guatemala, the government of Santa Maria de Jesus has contacted Tzu Chi since 2020 asking for help. This year, volunteers arrived with supplies to locals in need. We will leave you with these images. Thank you for joining us. Goodbye.